Marcus, you need to drink your water. You've been lying there for 3 days and your lips are cracked. Silence. I know you can't hear me. The doctors say your brain activity is... Well, they say there's not much going on in there. But I talk to my patients anyway. My mama taught me that. She said even people who can't respond, they feel things. They know when someone cares. Sound of water being poured. There you go. Just a little. Good. You know, Mr. Calloway, I looked you up. I probably shouldn't have. They tell us not to Google our patients, but I did it anyway. Marcus Calloway. 62 years old. Self-made billionaire. Started with nothing. Some article said you grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment in Detroit with 4 brothers and a mama who worked double shifts at a laundromat. And now look at you. Private hospital room. Flowers from senators. Your assistant calls 3 times a day just to check if your vitals changed. Pause. Nobody from your family has called though. I noticed that. Adjusting for. I'm sorry. That's none of my business. I notice things. Occupational habit, I guess. 12 years as an ICU nurse. You start reading rooms the way other people read books. Your son was here yesterday. Did you know that? He sat in that chair for about 4 minutes, checked his phone twice, and left. He smelled like bourbon at 11 in the morning. I'm not judging. Lord knows I've had my seasons, but I noticed. The way he looked at you wasn't the way a son looks at a sick father. It was the way a man looks at a safe he doesn't have the combination to yet. Long pause, quiet sound of medical equipment. I shouldn't be saying any of this. You probably can't hear me anyway. Soft laugh. My name is Deja, by the way. Deja Monroe. You've had about 6 different nurses rotate through this room and I doubt anyone introduced themselves properly. That bothers me. You deserve to know the name of the person changing your 4 bags. I grew up in Baltimore. East Side. My mama cleaned houses. My daddy drove a delivery truck until his back gave out, and then he just gave out too, if I'm being honest. I put myself through nursing school working nights at a grocery store. Checkout line. You ever spend 2 years scanning barcodes at midnight? You learn a lot about people. What they buy when they think nobody's watching. Pause. I'm telling you all this because I don't know. You feel like someone who would actually listen. Isn't that funny? The one person in this hospital who literally cannot respond, and he's the one I feel comfortable talking to. Sound of blinds being adjusted, light shifting. The doctors think you might come out of this. Dr. Reyes says your brain scans are unexpectedly active for someone in your condition. She said it with that careful doctor voice, like she didn't want to give too much hope. I've heard that voice before. I've also seen people wake up that everybody wrote off. And I've seen people never wake up that everybody prayed for. This job teaches you real fast that you don't get to know the ending in advance. But I think you're going to wake up, Mr. Calloway. Marcus. I think you're already partly here. Long silence. Can I tell you something I've never told anyone? Quieter now. I almost quit last year. 3 months ago, actually. I had a patient, elderly woman, Mrs. Patricia Chen, 78 years old, sweetest human being I've ever met. Brought me jasmine tea in a thermos every Tuesday for 6 months during her outpatient treatments. She called me her angel with the clipboard. And I made a mistake. Not a catastrophic one. Nothing that. She recovered fine. But I gave her the wrong dosage of a secondary medication during a shift where I'd been on for 14 hours and the floor was short-staffed and I was running on coffee and willpower. She was okay. She really was okay. But I wasn't. I went home that night and I sat on my kitchen floor for 2 hours. Just sat there. I thought about turning in my badge. I thought about going back to scanning barcodes. I thought about how maybe I was never supposed to be here, that maybe I'd been fooling myself for 12 years thinking I was built for this. Pause. My supervisor found out. I reported it myself, which is policy, and she said something I keep turning over in my head. She said, Deja, the nurses who scare me are the ones who never make a mistake and never feel anything afterward. You scared yourself. That means you're still a good nurse. I don't know if she was right. I don't know if I believe it some days. But I came back. I'm still here. And here I am talking to a billionaire in a coma at 6:15 in the morning because my next break isn't until 8 and this room is the quietest place on the floor. Soft sound of sheets being straightened. Your hands are interesting, you know. I look at hands a lot in this job. It tells you things. Your left hand has a scar along the thumb. Old one, faded. Manual labor scar. From before all of this. You didn't always have someone else doing the hard work. You remember what it felt like to bleed from working. I respect that. Pause. I wonder what you're like when you're awake. The articles make you sound intimidating. Ruthless. Visionary. One headline called you the last American wolf. I don't know what that means exactly, but it sounds lonely. Most powerful people I've met in this hospital, and I've had a few, this is that kind of facility. They're lonely in a very specific way. Like they built such a tall tower that nobody can reach them anymore. And somewhere along the way they forgot that was the goal. Sound of door opening slightly, then closing. Someone checked in, left. I should check your chart. Let me just. Quiet for a moment, papers shuffling. Your blood pressure's actually better this morning. Did you know that? Little bit stronger. See? You're fighting. Gentle, almost to herself. Fight, Marcus. You didn't come all the way from Detroit to a 2-bedroom apartment to die in a hospital bed while your son checks his phone and your assistant calls the front desk. That is not your ending. I don't believe that's your ending. Pause. I'll be back at 8 to check your fluids. And I'll probably talk too much again. You'll just have to deal with that. Quiet laugh, then footsteps moving toward the door. Oh, and Marcus? She stops. If you can hear me, and I think maybe you can, you don't have to pretend anymore. Whatever it is you're figuring out in there, take the time you need. But when you're ready, come back. Door closes softly. Long silence. Then, barely perceptible, a single finger moves. Good morning, Marcus. It's me again. Deja. 6:45. You've got the sunrise side this morning. I opened your blinds a little. Hope that's okay. Pause, for being checked. Dr. Reyes did her rounds early today. She stood here for about 8 minutes looking at your chart with that expression she gets, the one where she's surprised but doesn't want to show it. Your brain activity spiked again last night. Twice. She used the word remarkable, and then immediately walked it back and said noteworthy. Doctors hate getting your hopes up. I've watched them spend entire careers learning how to say good news like it might be bad news. I think it's good news. Chair being pulled close. I'm going to sit for a minute. The floor's actually quiet right now, which almost never happens. Somebody told me there's a full moon tonight. I used to laugh at nurses who said the full moon changes things. I don't laugh anymore. 12 years will cure you of a lot of cynicism. Pause. I thought about you on my drive in this morning. Isn't that something? I've got 63 patients rotating through this floor and I'm thinking about the one who doesn't talk back. My friend Rochelle says I have a gift for choosing complicated. She's not wrong. Soft sound of equipment humming. Something happened yesterday after my shift. I'm going to tell you because, I don't know, it feels connected somehow. To what I said yesterday. About almost quitting. I was walking to my car, the parking structure on level 4, and I ran into a woman crying in the stairwell. Just sitting on the steps, back against the wall, scrubs on, sobbing. First-year resident. I don't know her name. Young, couldn't be more than 26. I sat down next to her and I didn't say anything for about 2 minutes. Just sat there. Finally she looked at me and said, I don't think I'm strong enough for this. And I said, nobody is. That's not what gets you through. She asked me what does get you through. I didn't have a perfect answer. I told her showing up anyway. Doing the next right thing even when you feel completely empty. Trusting that the part of you that cares is still in there even when you can't feel it. She nodded like she was filing it away for later. I hope it helped. I don't always know when I'm helping. Pause. Is that something you ever felt? In business, in whatever rooms you built your life in, did you ever sit in a stairwell somewhere and wonder if you had enough left? Quiet. I bet you did. I bet you just never told anybody. Standing, moving to the window. Baltimore's funny in winter. The light comes in sideways this time of year, kind of grey and gold at the same time. My grandmother called it the honest light. Said it showed everything as it actually was. No flattery. No shadow tricks. Just the thing itself. You look smaller in the honest light, Marcus. Not in a bad way. Just human. Like all the billionaire gets stripped off and you're just a man in a bed. 62 years old. Hands that remember hard work. A heart that's still beating. That counts for something. That counts for a lot. Pause, turning back. Your assistant called again this morning. Gerald, right? He has a very control voice. The kind of voice that's been trained to give nothing away. He asked if there was any change. I told him your pressure was improving. He said noted and hung up. Noted. Like you're a memo. Sitting back down. I'm going to tell you something else. About my daddy. I don't talk about him much. My mama raised us and she gets most of the story when I tell it. But my daddy, before his back went, before everything went, he was the most present man I've ever known. Used to take me to the harbour on Sunday mornings, just the two of us, buy me a hot chocolate from this little cart run by an old Dominican man named Felix. We'd sit on a bench and watch the ships and he'd tell me about all the places they were going. He didn't know really. He was guessing. But he said it like he knew, and I believed him. And for those Sunday mornings the whole world was going somewhere interesting. When his back gave out he kind of just folded inward. Like a chair that loses a leg. He stopped talking about ships going places. Stopped talking much at all. I became a nurse partly because of him. Partly because I thought if I knew enough about the body I could have fixed it. Fixed him. You can't always fix the thing you love. That's probably the central lesson of this profession and I'm still learning it every single day. Long pause. Your son came back this morning. Early, before I got here, the night nurse told me. He came at about 4 a.m. She said he sat for almost an hour. Didn't touch his phone. Just Saturday. I don't know what to make of that. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. People are complicated, especially the ones who love you wrong. Quietly. He looked like he'd been crying, she said. Pause. I think you should know that. In case it matters. Sound of vitals being checked, quiet beeping. You know what I keep coming back to? What you said, what I said you said, in my head, the way I imagine you'd say it. I told you that you didn't have to pretend anymore and I've been thinking about what that means for me too. Because I pretend. Lord, I pretend. I pretend I'm not tired when I'm exhausted all the way down to my teeth. I pretend I'm not scared when I walk into a room where someone is dying. I pretend that 12 years of this hasn't taken things from me. Sleep, relationships, a version of myself that used to laugh more easily. I pretend it doesn't cost anything. It costs. It costs every single day and I pay it because the alternative is walking away from the only thing I've ever been certain I was supposed to do. Pause. Maybe that's something you understand. Building something so consuming that the cost becomes invisible even to yourself. You just keep paying it because the work is the work and you are the work and what else would you even be? Soft exhale. I don't know if that's devotion or damage. Probably some of both. Standing, checking the chart one more time. Your color is better today. I want you to know that. Something is changing. Something is moving in the right direction. Gathering to leave. I'll be back after lunch. Room 4 is having a situation and I need to go be useful somewhere they can actually see it. Pause at the door. But Marcus. Softer. That finger moved yesterday. I know what I saw. The night nurse said I was imagining things. She's been here longer than me and she's seen too much hope go sideways and I understand that. I really do. But I know what I saw. Beat. So whenever you're ready. I'll be here. Footsteps. Door swings almost shut. Then. A hand. Lifting. Slowly. Off the sheet. Reaching toward nothing. Toward everything. Reaching.